recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening and welcome to the January 18th, 2022 Board of Selectmen's meeting. On the agenda, we have public service announcements, moment of silence. 6:35, we have a public hearing, National Grid, installation of 4 poles on South Road, department reports, building department, police, fire, several action items, consideration and possible action to accept bid on Riverlands float trails, consideration and possible action on a hawker peddler license for Isaiah Cerna, consideration and possible action on hawker and peddler license for Alex Lozniak, consideration and possible action on a hawker and peddler license for Jay Saria Ben Sim, consideration and possible action on the DPW hiring of David Kabinski and Tim Ramaska for temporary plow drivers, winter employees, pending pre-employment screening, consideration and possible action on Complete Streets funding program, consideration and possible action on selecting a town resident to the APA subcommittee, consideration and possible action on the resignation of call firefighter Jason Edson, consideration and possible action on the Sturbridge Trails Committee, recreational trails master plan update, old business. Under that, we have COVID-19 update, compass program, mask mandate, testing, consideration and possible action on selection of a town resident for the town administrator search committee. Then we have new business, right of first refusal for property located at lots B, C, and D, Podunk Road, Maple Street waterline replacement, correspondence, approval of minutes, citizens forum, and then we have an executive session. Phew. Okay,
Could you repeat that one more time?
yeah. The next one's just as long. Ian, do you have any public service announcements?
No, I do not.
Chase?
I have 2. We have an election on Monday, January 24th at the Town Hall, 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., voting on the senior center debt. And then we have, every American citizen is now, you can get 4 free COVID tests. If you go to covidtest.gov, they ship within 7 to 12 days, and everybody's eligible for 4 of them if you want them.
Yeah, every household.
Yep.
It's good. Hey, Mary?
No, that's a good announcement, if you can get them, if they come in fast enough. Anyways, no, I don't have any announcement.
Hey, I have this from the town clerk. Nomination papers for the annual town election are available, and there are several seats open. There's a Board of Selectmen, 1 for 3 years, Board of Assessors, 1 for 3 years, Sturbridge School Committee, 2 for 3 years, Sturbridge School Committee, 1 for 1 year, Tantascwa School Committee, 2 for 3 years, Constable, 1 for 3 years, Board of Health, 1 for 3 years, Recreation Committee, 2 for 3 years, Zoning Board of Appeals, 2 for 3 years, Library Trustees, 3 for 3 years. Also, the town clerk seat is up. Okay, last day to take nomination papers is Wednesday, February 16th, sorry. Last day to submit nomination papers for certification is Friday, February 18th. Last day to withdraw or object, Wednesday, March 9th. Last day to register to vote for the town election, Tuesday, March 22nd. Okay, the last day to post the warrant is Monday, April 14th. The town election is Monday, April 11th. Jamie, do you have any?
No.
So I get to do all the reading. Hey, it is 8:35, 6:35, and we do have a public hearing. Chase?
All right. Just,
Oh,
all right. Town of Sturbridge Board of Selectmen public hearing. National Grid has made a petition to the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen to install 4 poles on South Road beginning at a point approximately 785 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Mashpog Road and continuing approximately 15 feet in a west direction. National Grid also requests to install 4 mid-span poles to reduce line sag along South Road. The poll hearing will take place on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, at 6:35 PM at the Sturbridge Town Hall, second floor Veterans Memorial Hall, located at 308 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass. 01566.
Okay, is there anyone here representing National Grid? Okay, would you please come down? Okay, and would you identify yourself for the record, please?
My name is Connor Reynolds.
Okay, do you want to just give a synopsis of what it is you want to do?
We just want to install 4 poles on South Road to be a midspan between long spans along the road to reduce sag in the line and meet National Electric Code.
Okay, does anybody have a question or a comment? Okay, it is a public hearing. Okay, could you come to the mic, please?
My name is Ross Berry. I reside on 3 South Road, would be the first property. And I just would like to ask if I could cooperate with National Grid, the placement of those poles. Obviously, I don't want it in the middle of my driveway. So, I mean, is there something that we could negotiate with?
I don't believe it's in the middle of your driveway. They should be staked. I did stake the poles a few months ago.
But is that something we could walk together just to make sure we're on the same page?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so
I'll
there is
give you my
wiggle
number.
room?
What?
There is wiggle room of,
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
That's all I object to. I know it has to be, but,
I can give you my number.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
what was your address again, sir?
South Road.
3 South.
Okay, Butch, you had a question? Or a comment?
Yeah, Butch Jackson, DPW Director. I just want to make sure you try and keep these poles as far off the road as you can, because that is a very narrow road, and a lot of those poles are very close. And I did see the stakes up there, Russ, if you look there, he does have a stake down.
Do you like where the stakes
Yeah,
are? Butch?
They seem to be out of the way, so I don't know, I'm not familiar with Russ's driveway, but I didn't see anything near a driveway.
There's also a well, it's like 15 feet from the road too, so.
He's actually right on the road, so I don't think that'll be a problem.
They're in line with all the other poles.
He's right, that's why I say the road's narrow, so we can keep them far off the road as possible.
Okay, anyone else, excuse me, from the public? Okay, is there a motion then to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Okay, is there a motion to approve or disapprove?
I move to approve the installation of the 4 mid-span poles, subject to feedback from the community and the DPW department in their placement.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, what's that?
Thank you.
Okay, next we have department reports. First, building department. Good evening, Nelson.
Good evening to everybody. I'm Nelson Burlingame, the building inspector in town. This report is for the months of October, November, December. The first page, I just broke it down to the months, and I'm going to go through this quick because, you know, anybody who wants to read it can look at it. The grand totals for October was 13,511. November was 25,509. And December was 15,199, and the total for those 3 months was 54,219.95. And then like I usually do, what I did is I broke it down into ongoing commercial projects. I listed them out. I mean, I might mention a few things about them. In my list, I have Days Inn. They're remodeling the hotel, which is up in the back, on Route 15, up in the back. 9 Hollow Road, if you notice, they pretty much now have boarded it up, put a fence around it and different things to make it safe and secure. The 2 biggies that we have going on in town is the cold storage buildings. One is the 6 Picker Road, that's next to 49, and then the other one is at 19 Charlton Road. Picker Road, it's going to be called New England Cold Storage. Arco Design and Build is doing it. And then the other one is TL Design Group's doing it, and it's called RLS Complete. Just to give the people out, that's watching this some ideas of the size of the building, Picker Road is like 335 feet long by 284 feet wide. The square footage, give or take, is roughly 100,000 square feet. It's like 97, some odd. The other interesting things is it being cold storage. The ceiling heights in both of those buildings, but that particular one is 55 feet. That particular one, they've got it broken up to a couple sections so they can have different temperatures, like really cold or maybe freezer, but not quite as cold. And that building on 6 Picker right now, if people go by, you'll see the frames all up. They started putting the metal insulated walls on. What they have left to do is the areas where the truck decks are, where they pull in for the trucks and stuff, and the office building. That particular building, it's a 1-story office, so they're kind of working on that right now. They have a lot of the roofs on the main building, so they're doing pretty good. They've done a lot of site work there. They've paved the driveways, the first coat, so they're doing pretty good, and they got a lot of their groundwork done there, and that's Picker Road. And then the other one, 90 Charlton Road, the building's the same idea. It's not quite as big, but close. It's 287 by 284. That has a 2-story office building, but combined, the square footage is like 87,000 square feet and some odd. So that's pretty good size too. The same thing with them is they have the main building up, they have some of the roof up. Again, they have the same areas to work on as the other building. Their site work isn't quite as far along. What happened with them is they had to get a state permit to do the blasting and stuff, and that held them up quite a while. So I believe in the spring, they're hoping for a good spring, and they can do a lot of the site work then. But both buildings are coming along really well. And then other things in town, 69 Hall Road, there's a new 8 treatment room dental office that's going in that building. They've completely revamped it. It's just about done. A lot of the finish work is done. I believe in a couple of weeks I'll be signing the final for it. It's set up really nice. Rapscallion, across from the senior center. They taken over, I don't know if anybody's heard, but they are definitely taking over the lower floor. And what they're going to do is they're going to be a stairway they're going to put in between the lower and the upper. The upper, they already have it all set up with the bar and everything, and the lower one, they're going to do all their serving their food out of there because they need the food to get their liquor license, because they have to have that combined with the food. So that's going to solve the problem for them. And, they're not doing a lot of work downstairs that had been done recently over. The upstairs is done over. It's really, when they go in there, it's really a nice building, nice bar.
Okay, Nelson, excuse me, could I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
Michelle, I don't remember, did Rapscallion renew their license for the upstairs?
Yes.
Okay, because if they're going to serve downstairs, they'll have to come in for an extension of premises, which will be a public hearing. Sorry, Nelson.
No,
Can I
that's
interrupt
good.
too?
Yes.
On that same thing? So when are they hoping to have all this done? I get a lot of residents that, like Rapscallion, that have been
I
asking
have
me,
too.
and
I think people are anxious to go there
Yeah.
because they were up the street before. I mean, I'll predict, but again, I could be off because I would have told you they'd be open upstairs too. So I'm going to say, I'm gonna say, they wanna open as quick as I can. I'm gonna say February sometime. in
Okay, so
February.
you're saying within 3, it's not 6 months out?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
because they really don't have a lot to do downstairs. And I know P&P Construction has called me, and they haven't got the application in yet, but I know they're eager to get started, and I've worked with them in the past, and they're pretty, they don't waste too much time, so it should be pretty good. Okay, other projects, 40 Main Street, Edwards Gas, if you've gone by there, you'll see they're putting kind of like a new facade on, and they're doing, they're gonna do the inside over, and they're gonna have a convenience store, and they put some bricks and stuff on the front of it. They're working on it. The old Jimmy D's, that's gonna be like a deli, they're gonna have meats and stuff there. It's very similar to Jimmy D's, the setup's gonna be the same. They're just adding to the downstairs, they're putting a dishwasher and different things way in the cellar. That's what they're changing there. And then 308 Main, it's Deep Roots Whiskey Distillery. That's where the old Mill Yard Marketplace is. And if you're looking at the building itself on Main Street, it's actually up front. It's going to be to the right. A lot of people have shown interest in that too. So, I think that's going to be a pretty good thing. Some of the projects the commercial projects that we have finished up in the last, that I signed the final on, there was a fit up for 198 Charlton Road, which is that big building, the nice one that's high with the glass. There was a 3,473 square foot insurance brokerage firm that went in there on the first floor. So they are filling that building up. It's getting, they've got a lot of it filled up, which is nice, because it's a good sized building. Cornerstone Bank, if anybody's been in there recently, they've got the new facade. They reconfigured the inside. If you go to the back of the building, they did some work on that, put some rails, did the stairs over. I did sign a final off on that. There was a couple little hitches, but we got past them, we worked them out. They made a couple changes. A couple of things I forgot to put on here. One is the Granite Group, where the old Paletti's building was, and that's anybody that's listening, it's actually a wholesale plumbing supply house, so you have to have a plumber's license to buy there, but, a lot of plumbers have been going there. If you see it, it's a very busy place, a lot of trucks there. And Dunkin' Donuts, if you go in Dunkin' Donuts, they've revamped and did them all over, and they've changed the counters, and they've updated to make it look modern. We signed them off. Then what I did is I listed upcoming commercial projects. Of course, everybody knows that, Enrico's Market. 380 Main, which is the old, where we got the turnaround, it's the old visitors center. That's gonna be what they call Wicked Licks. It's gonna be an ice cream stand. And I just got from the engineer, I got the site plan back and a review and everything, so, because they were waiting on their permit, but I was waiting on a review. So, I think by summer, they'll have that done, and hopefully, ice cream will be open, I would think. And we just hope that, the virus is good to us and people can visit things. 178 Main, the old J.C. Penney's, they divided that up. It's going to be divided up into 3 areas. The big thing is the Planet Fitness that's going to go there right now, and they're actually working on that now. And then there's a couple other areas, and I don't think they're sure exactly what's going in there, but, I'm sure something will go in there. The other thing that will be coming up is that Noble Energy, the old Ford truck stop. That's going to be quite the project. We have coming up 150 Charlton Road is interstate towing, because they're in where the old Ford truck stop is, where Noble Gas is going to go. They actually bought the land across the street. There's a tower there, and if you look at the tower, there's land just to the right of it. That's where they're going to build the towing service truck thing, garage. I think a lot of people know the old Friendly's ice cream, Teddy G's. Teddy bought that. He's got plans in there. It's going to be like a burger restaurant, but I think, a higher end one. I think it's a great location. I think it's a, perfect spot for a restaurant. I think he'll do good. They're a hard worker. Another good thing for the town as far as I'm concerned.
I got a lot of questions about that one too. When is that hoping to happen?
I'm
By
gonna,
summer?
again, I'm not positive, but I know that they're doing quite a bit of remodeling inside, but not structural. So I'm saying maybe April, May or something, probably before summer hits, I would think, because I know he wants.
There's a lot of holdup with getting supplies in. ovens and all that.
Like everywhere.
Like everywhere.
Yeah, he's changing the inside with all the equipment, 'cause the equipment in there was getting old with Friendly's. So, you know, and he's styling it up some with bricks and different things, and he's got like 3 outside additions, like when you first walk in, he's got a roof, he's got a pavilion for people to sit on the outside to the left looking at the building, and then to the right, he's got an addition with a roof going over the main building, but I mean, not huge, but to, you know, make it look nice and a little different than it is now. A lot of good ideas he has. And then, okay, I already said that. Okay, 55 plus that manufactured housing community. It's at that 30 Main and 20 Fisk Hill, you know, right near Edwards Gas, just to the left of it. It's going to have those 71 single and double wide homes. I know that roadway went through planning and that passed and everything, so they redid the design a little bit of it, but I know they've been calling and talking. They haven't actually came in for a building permit, but I know they will be really soon, so that's going to get rolling too, so. And I think that covers pretty much what's going on right now. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Nelson, in the past, on the reports, we've usually gotten the printouts of permits, where they were and everything. But we don't have that for these 3 months.
Great. But yes, I'll work on getting them.
Because it's good background information. The summation is good, too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Now, I know,
I was doing the 110s too, and it's been like really, you know, we got them done, but it's been busy. And then
Everybody's busy, Nelson.
Yeah, I know. I've had a lot of personal things happen with me too, but yeah.
Nelson, would you say you're kind of caught, I know you've had quite the year, so God bless. But would you say you're kind of caught up now? I know for a while we were,
Yeah, we're getting there.
yeah. You're putting out the fires, people are relatively happy.
I had a lot of fires put out when I first came back. And then you gotta get a handle of everything again, and then you know what? Here's the deal with a building, any building inspector, any town, I think. You know, people say, why do you have a building inspector? You know, people for the most part are good and they're honest and they want to be, but I'll tell you, if they get out of line, they'll get out of line, and then when you come back, whoever it may be, you gotta kind of get them back into line again, and then they start doing what they should be doing again, and then it gets better again, but until then, you've almost got to work at it, not reinstart the wheel, but you've got to really pay attention, figure out what's going on and who's doing what, and, you know, and the permits and the processes and everything else. So I think that's what's happened here, and I think we're getting back close to, you know, where I was when I went on that 12 weeks. So, but I think it happens in every town, you know. I think what a building inspector is, keeps everybody and every people honest, I guess is what I'm saying, you know, somewhat. Signs are the same way, Mary, you know that. You're gone for 12 weeks, you come back, and you got to kind of go about the signs again, because, you know, you can't blame them. They put the signs up, and a lot of them.
No, but you can. I mean, we have bylaws that
Well, you blame them, but
townspeople
yeah.
voted on, so they ought to obey them.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, thank you, Nelson.
Thanks, Nelson. Thank you, Nelson.
have a good night.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Okay, next we have the police department, chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll start with November's report. Busy couple months here. I'll go through some operational stuff that we went through. Sergeant Murray, along with Officer Jagier and Patterson, attended a Coach for Vets event at Gillette Stadium. They went out to Gillette Stadium, picked up coats, and we redistributed them back here in Sturbridge to people in need of coats. So that was a great event. We had officers at the Common for the Home of the Brave race. Lieutenant Bateman participated in an Eagle Scout board interview at the Sturbridge Federated Church, so one of our residents here could be interviewed to get his Eagle Scout badge. Officer Crevier participated in the Stuffer Cruiser event held at the Sawdust Cafe. We did Stuff a Cruiser event like we do every year at the Public Safety Complex. We pretty much filled our large trailer with toys and redistributed them out. We had another Coats for Vets event at the Public Safety Complex. That's where we had people come in that needed coats. Some people came in for other people that maybe didn't want to come get them, but we were able to distribute approximately a dozen coats to people. We had a Cops and Kids toy drive, another one at the Public Safety Complex. For training of significance, Sergeant Murray went to a 40-hour supervisor FBI law enforcement executive development class. That's a pretty significant training class. Officer Deary and Mataroja went to a 40-hour crisis intervention training. Sergeant Payne attended a civil rights symposium in Randolph, Mass. And he also attended an intentional leadership training in Randolph, which was a 40-hour class. We got notified in November that the Sturbridge Police Department, off a grant that we applied for, received $44,430 to purchase body-worn cameras. During our union negotiations, we were able to negotiate in the policies, and we used that time to bring in the policy with the body-worn cameras while we were applying for the grant. So everything's coming together. I'm still working. This is about half of what we need to fully get the program going, but I am working on funding through alternate sources to fully fund that. And as you requested, the SRO reports are back in the files, because I believe they were.
Yes, how many SROs? Don't we have two?
Two.
Okay,
Yes.
but it looks like just one wrote it.
There should be two. I saw two.
No, it could be my eyes.
Well, no, what it is one is, the elementary school is a lot briefer than the high school and junior high. So the junior high one you'll see is very lengthy,
Yeah.
because they do a lot more stuff up there. So the very first page, I'm not sure how it is in your pamphlet, but in mine, the very first page is the elementary school.
So this November report
Yes.
is the elementary, and then the ones with the headings at the
The
top.
one page is elementary. I think it's like 5 or 6 pages.
Yeah. Okay, Matt Erosion put his heading line.
Yes.
So that's,
December, just to close out the year, you know, we had a pretty busy year. 28,411 calls is what we ended up with. 795 arrests or criminal complaints were issued. We booked 254 crashes. However, we responded to 694 crashes. So that means, 254 of them rated a police report rather than just a paperwork exchange. But there were still almost 700 crashes in town. For December operations, we did the Cops for Kids shop at Walmart. That's where police officers went down and shopped around with donations that we received, along with Southbridge Police Department, and shopped for toys for the kids. We had our annual senior Christmas dinner at the senior center. There was over 50 people in attendance for that. Again, Barbara Boito put that together, as she does every year, and did a fantastic job. We had a great response to that. Training, just general training. December would mark, I made it through a full year as chief in December, so that's a good sign.
Congratulations.
And the last thing that you have in your folder, I wanted to present to you for comments, questions, or concerns. About 6 months ago, we became aware of a grant that would be potentially available to us to have a full-time clinician serve with the Sturbridge Police Department. And what that would involve is a clinician actually driving around with our police officers. Due to not just Sturbridge, nationwide, we're seeing a significant increase in mental health calls. And generally, police officers will show up and we'll either put somebody in what we call Section 12, where it's an involuntary, hey, you're going to the hospital to be examined by a psychologist or a clinician at the hospital. Sometimes those calls become very dangerous. They quickly escalate. and sometimes involve use of force. Use of force comes with liability and whatnot. So we became aware of this training. And actually, we have sent about 90% of our officers, if not higher, because we just had 2 more go, to a week-long crisis intervention training. So we train our people, but like I said, 40 hours compared to a master level clinician who does this for a living, it's apples and oranges. So we became aware of this grant. Lieutenant Lombardi has taken the lead on this, and we discovered that the Department of Mental Health is willing. We haven't got the final approval. I wanted to bring this in front of the board. I have met with Mr. Reed and discussed this with him, and we have partnered, as we have for a long time, with Riverside Community Care, which is a company that has clinicians that when we call for mental health crisis, sometimes if we have the time, instead of going hands-on with somebody, these calls take a long time, we're de-escalating the situation. We'll call for this company to come out. They'll send a clinician out to us, and they'll try to de-escalate the situation, talk to the person, and maybe even evaluate them first before the police officer has to go hands-on, put handcuffs on, and get them to the hospital. So the Department of Mental Health is willing to fund this. We've met with the Department of Mental Health, Riverside Community Care. The greatest thing about this program is it's going to be a full-time employee of RCC and not an employee of the town of Sturbridge. All benefits, liability insurance will be the responsibility of RCC. The way the program will work is RCC will bill the Sturbridge Police Department for services of the clinician, and the Sturbridge Police Department will submit payment voucher to the Department of Mental Health for reimbursement. We've done this in the past with similar grants. So when I said we sent over 90% of our people to critical incident training, every time we go, if we send them on overtime or a day off or whatever the case may be, I submit a bill to the Department of Mental Health, and they pay us for sending those police officers. They reimburse the town for that overtime. So we've been in this situation before. This is just on a bigger scale. So what I would have to do is, once I answer your questions or concerns or comments, I will work with the finance department to set up a special revenue account. That will be a reimbursement account. And I think it's a win-win for the town. It costs the town $0. We'll have somebody out here for 40 hours a week attached to us. They'll have a desk space at the police department. They'll help us not only with mental health calls, they'll help us with opiate overdoses that we deal with for follow-ups. They'll help us with domestic violence follow-ups. They'll do, we'll have a whole variety of things that these clinicians, or this clinician, will be one clinician that will be assigned to us that will be able to help us do some work, and they will be specialized master level clinicians. So I wanted to bring this to the board and see if you had any comments, questions, or concerns. All liability, all insurance, all workman's comp, injuries, all that stuff is covered by Riverside. They're not employees of this town.
Okay, comments, questions?
It's great.
Chase?
I just want to say, I think that's great. Mental health's really important right now, and that's a good grant that we have.
Way to go.
Yeah.
I just had a question.
Mr. Reed?
The chief had invited me to attend a virtual meeting. Riverside participated, and the representative from mental health. To me, it looks like an excellent program, and as the chief said, it's the way departments are going. I mean, the department will have the services of a specialist. In fact, I think you mentioned you had just had an incident at the department shortly before I showed up.
That day, yeah.
Yeah.
We're in the lobby, yeah.
And I think it would be a great service to the people who need these services to have a specialist and, who has this level of training. Naturally, I was concerned about the money, and we talked to the representative from mental health, and it looks like it's not like a declining scale, or you're in it for a year and then you've got to fund it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, I think there have been towns that have been in this for 15, 20 years, and virtually, when you're in it, and they will continue with the funding. So, to my mind, after that meeting, I felt that this is an excellent program.
Yeah, even just reading about it, hearing your words.
Yeah,
Mary, you had a question?
I agree. I don't think it has a downside either. And, with all due respect to the police department, mental illness is a disease, and they should be, people who are in that line of work are the most experienced to handle the problem. But I just had a question. How did we come about with Riverside Community Care? Is that who the Department of Mental Health chose?
No,
or
they
how
are-
did
they-
you
I
choose
don't-
them over another organization?
They are, great question that I should have had the answer for, but
Okay.
they are assigned to our area, so if we want to, and I don't know the terminology for it, but if we wanted to go outside of this particular company, we'd have to get approval through Riverside Community Care that they would decline this service that is offered through this money.
Okay.
And then we could go to another company, say out of Worcester County or whatever, but this is their area.
Okay, so it's probably the state, the Department of Mental Health, that's given certain areas to certain organizations.
That's my understanding,
Okay.
that's how they're working, and this is actually the Framingham, like Mr. Reed said, I think it was Framingham, they've been doing this for 15 years, and the funds just keep rolling over, and I'm hoping that's what happens here. And, you know, I think it's great service. We'll have, like you said, you need trained people, and you turn on the news any day, there's mental health crisis going all over the place, so.
Especially now.
Yeah, if we have this person that's 40 hours, then maybe, you know, what we will do is we'll analyze when we start getting this ball rolling even more and get the final approval, we will analyze when a majority of our mental health calls are coming in and schedule that person accordingly. So if it's 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, or however those calls for service come out time-wise, we will schedule that person accordingly to make sure that they are there at the hours that we really need them. And not only we have them 40 hours, but this company, we've been using for the last couple of years anyways, they still will respond out on off hours. So they have clinicians that come out, because what we've been trying to do a lot over the last year or so is not put somebody that's having a crisis in handcuffs. We will try to sit there and calmly talk to them, de-escalate the situation, and then if we can't, which sometimes you just can't, then you do whatever you have to do to get them to the hospital, to get the help you need. But, you know, we bring somebody highly qualified and highly trained in there, we may be, you know, reducing officer injuries, reducing any type of civil suits, just because we're using somebody that's got a lot of training.
Did every town that wants these clinicians get afforded them through the Department of?
I didn't ask, because I don't want anybody else taking them.
No, I just, usually, you know, Sturbridge, we're usually told, you know,
I've only
our
heard of-
demographic is such that, you know.
Well, there was some talk about some regional stuff, and I was leaning towards going regional with the thing, this program, and then I heard that the DMH may fully fund one person for us, so I just kind of went,
Nice.
let's do us and not share.
Take care of our own.
Yeah, having said that, I will be 100% willing to, if any of our neighboring communities need a mental health clinician and they're on duty in our department, to let them go help our neighbor.
So they'll respond just like our police.
Yeah, we'll provide them a ride and get them to go help those people who need help in our neighboring communities, as I have no doubt that the neighboring communities would do the same for us.
Nice.
Okay, so Chief, I would assume you would like a motion for us to approve.
Yeah, if that, I mean, I wasn't sure how that went, if that was something you just are approving, then that's, yeah, however, that should go, yeah,
It's nice to have the stamp of approval.
sure, I appreciate
Does
it.
somebody want to make that motion?
Sure. I will move to support the chief in obtaining services through
Co-response program?
yeah, through co-response program with Riverside Community Care, has an agent of the Department of Mental Health, for the Sturbridge Police Department.
Is there a second
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor?
When do you hope to have this individual on board?
Well, what I'll do probably this week is I will contact DMH and just let them know that we've passed it through the local government and everything is good to go, and we will start moving forward. I'm hoping, maybe we'll still have to do a hiring process, so I'll be part of the hiring process, the clinician, to make sure the clinician is gonna be a good fit for Sturbridge. So I'll be in on that, and this clinician will be hired in the job posting through Riverside. And so that's gonna take some process, and then from there, they'll come in and start working, so.
Okay,
it
so
could-
they'll do this, because he or she will be an employee of Riverside, they post the job, and then you will be part of like the hiring
Yep,
committee?
I'll participate in maybe the panel interview or,
Nice.
you know, and so I have some input and make sure that we're hiring somebody that's going to be a good fit for us.
I have a question on that.
Mary?
Can I ask off?
Yeah, no,
subject?
I was going to go back to.
Oh, okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question on your school calls, because we don't often see, under the senior high school,
What, November or December?
November, there's one sex offense, and I was just curious, is that under investigation? Was there an arrest, or what was the nature of that without violating any kind of confidentiality? You don't,
Well, that's about all I can say as far as it goes. I mean.
okay.
there-
We don't, that was different, I mean, we don't typically have that under our,
We've had
Several?
plenty of
Oh.
those offenses in our school, mainly the high school or junior high area. But, you know, some of those, I will say, some of those offenses may relate to our modern social media technology and stuff like that, where it would maybe be categorized as, and I'm not saying this is the particular incident, but I'm saying sometimes it may be inappropriate pictures being sent.
okay,
And-
like
and-
social media
and stuff
harassment or stuff like that?
Stuff like that may fall under that particular category.
Has this one been resolved? Are you able to say that? I mean,
It's still currently under investigation.
still currently under
yeah.
investigation.
And sometimes when you get into these Snapchats and stuff like that, it's very difficult to trace stuff back. You need to do subpoenas, you need to do whatnot just for that. But I can't really comment on what this particular case is about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chief, I just had a question, I know I've asked it before, on the accident reports. Sometimes it just says Main Street, and other times it actually has a number.
Yes. It should always have a number because it helps us more accurately track our data and where we should be doing more traffic enforcement. So if you're seeing some of those, that is either an officer error or a dispatch error, not entering that stuff in at the time. Or, you know, maybe there's a lot of stuff going on
Right.
and they didn't put the numbers in, but they should be in because it certainly helps us when we're, like I said, trying to determine where we need to do
Well,
traffic enforcement.
helps us too, when people say, oh, there's been 20 accidents in that spot. And
Yeah,
you read the reports and there hasn't been one.
right. I just actually pulled up the mapping on it last week, and I did notice when I was looking at the bulk, when it shows the map, it drops pins where all the crashes are, and sometimes it will put like this big bulk of pins in one area, but you know that all those crashes didn't happen there, so maybe when it happened, the dispatcher just said Main at 131, and the crash might be at Main and Fairgrounds Road or something, where they should be putting a more accurate thing in. I agree, and that should be done.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Anything else from the board?
Great work as usual.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay, next, fire department, chief,
Good evening.
good evening.
I wasn't sure if I had seen you for September and October, so you have September, October, as well as November and December reports. Couple things of note, we finished the year with 2,519 calls. That's a record for the Sturbridge Fire Department, the most calls we've ever done in a calendar year. That averages out to about 6.9 calls per day. And doing the reports, I was able to calculate that our average committed time per call is 52 minutes and 36 seconds. What that means is from the time of dispatch to the last unit to clear the scene or to clear the hospital time, we're spending almost an hour on average on each one of these calls. So there's a significant time commitment and a significant personnel commitment on all of our calls. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is this year, we provided mutual aid 193 times to our mutual aid communities, which is lower than we normally provide. The more alarming figure is we've called mutual aid 188 times this year, and that's almost double what we usually call for mutual aid. I think that's attributed to a number of factors. COVID-19 certainly has had an impact on our ability to provide a higher level of staffing than what we'd like to provide. The last 2 weeks of the calendar year were quite tough for the fire department as we were hit with COVID like many other organizations were. The staff really stepped up, provided exceptional service to the residents of the community. Never was there a question that there would be service provided. But it did bring to light some other things that I will be bringing forward to you in the coming months. Those are some of the big numbers that we had. We have recently provided mutual aid for a couple of structure fires in neighboring towns. We began getting back into our training routine. The state opened up the fire academy again, so some of our members have been able to take advantage of some classes. We will continue to do that as we move forward, in addition to our daily training and our regular departmental training. One item of note, I'd like to congratulate Steve Joyce and his wife on the birth of their baby girl earlier this month. Everyone's healthy, and Steve is already back to work, so that's a good thing. So congratulations to the Joyce family. Those are the big items of note that I wanted to bring to your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions about the reports.
Any questions, comments?
I just said, you said we've called mutual aid to help us 188 times, which is double.
Correct.
Now, I just missed the reason. Is it more because our men and women were out with the virus, or we were responding to ambulance calls where people needed to be brought to the hospital for the virus? I'm trying to see the role of the virus.
Right, so the big picture answer is it comes down to the staffing levels that we have.
Okay.
Our staffing levels were impacted even more because of COVID, but normally if we could handle, if I have 4 personnel working on a shift, we can generally handle 2 ambulance calls simultaneously. We were down to 3, and at one point down to 2 personnel in the firehouse only. So once that first ambulance went out, we really didn't have the ability to provide the second ambulance with our own staffing. So we needed to call mutual aid for that. And there's a service concern there. That's the number one concern, of course. There's also a revenue concern there that, as I said, I'll have more information coming in the future.
On your time.
Yeah. Were you also responding a lot to people needing to go to the hospital?
Much more than last year. Yes, much more than last year. It seems like, last year at the height of the pandemic, nobody wanted to go to the hospital for obvious reasons. This year, it seems like there was a lot less concern for being at the hospital during the pandemic.
Yeah, because I know that according to Harrington Hospital, they said their testing sites last week was like at 45% positivity rate, which was double the state average.
Yep.
So I assume, obviously, not everybody going to their testing sites are from Sturbridge, but we're certainly within that community that would go there. So I didn't know that must have impacted the fire department as well. I was really astounded by that figure, 45%
Yeah.
positivity
The
rate.
end of December, the beginning of January was the worst time for the fire department since the pandemic started, as far as number of cases in the firehouse.
Ian?
Do you feel that it's been a steady increase in calls over, let's say, the last 10 years, or the sudden spike this year? I mean, would you say that, I don't want to say a fluke year, but was it just a bad year, and that next year it may go back to normal amounts, or do you think we're going to continue to see an increase in calls?
The trends have been increasing. I've gone back as far as 2016. The trends have been increasing. The one odd year was 2020.
Right.
And everybody
Can't count those
everybody's
numbers.
call volume was very low that year, but over the last 6 years, 5-6 years, the trend is upward. And I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that changing. I think
Right.
that's going to continue. As a population, we're becoming an older population. I think there's more vehicles on the road. We're seeing more truck traffic through town, if that's even possible. But I see that number continuing to rise.
Jamie? Okay, Chief, in here, and I'm sure it's there for comparison, there's like 3 or 4 reports from 2020. That's just to help us compare to.
Right, at one point, I think, it was one of the former selectmen had asked for a comparison of each month, the call volume. So what I do now is I give you the current month and the same month from last year, and then I give you year-to-date
Yeah.
for the current year and year-to-date for the previous year, so you can compare those numbers in multiple ways.
You're really good with the
That's what I did.
computer.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I said you're really good with the computer, with the charting.
Yeah, the computer does all the work, I just
Well, you
tell it
have
what
to
what to
plug
print.
You got to plug in the right information, though. It's very thorough.
Okay, anything else for the chief? Do you have anything else for us right now?
I don't, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, down to action items. The Riverlands Flow Trails construction. Mr. Reed, you want to give us a synopsis, please?
Yes, this is a rebid for some trails construction. I guess it looks like there are a number of trails that are being constructed under this. We had the bid opening last week, I believe it was. It's been reviewed by the facilities manager, by the Trails Committee. They recommend accepting the bid, the low bidder. He's met all the requirements of the bid specifications. I also understand that it's a company that's worked with the town before that they seem to be very happy with. So I would recommend that you accept the bid of Northern Land Clearing.
And their bid price was
76.4.
400.
Yeah, they ranged all the way up to 123,000.
Okay, questions, comments from the board? Someone want to make a motion then?
Sure, I will move to accept the bid of Northern Land Clearing LLC on the Riverlands flow trail construction, and that's at $76,400.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, Bob, this would be a good time to bring up the point about printing materials, seeing as this is the
packets?
the thicket packet.
Well, in my experience, I just haven't, I guess I was a little surprised last Thursday. I think Michelle stayed over to try and get the copying done. I've just not seen packets this extensive. And I'm wondering if the board could at least give some thought to how we might cut this down a little bit. I mean, in some towns, I think it's all given to board members electronically, so I don't know if that means getting tablets for the board or what, but perhaps we could just print out what we would consider the essential information. That could be in your hard copies, and then also send you and make available to you all of the backup information electronically, if that's a suitable compromise. I don't know if I'm expecting an answer from you tonight, but I think, you know, it'd be good if it'd be something that we could work on just to cut that down a little bit. I mean, you've seen the, not quite that big, but I mean, probably a ream and a half of paper per packet, so it's a lot of time, cost, trees. You know, maybe there's a way that we could be just as effective and informative without all the copies.
Yeah,
There's a lot of, yeah,
we used to always do it that way. We'd get the pertinent information, all the background, the, you know, legal documents and everything. There would be a copy in the selectman's office that if anybody wanted to come in and read it that way. But now we could, you know, do that electronically. I mean, there's no reason we need to know the prevailing wages on different things for projects like this.
I asked about this when we bought the fire truck, and we got the manual for the
Yeah.
fire truck. You know, I don't foresee me ever needing to
Yeah.
do that, so.
No, because, I
it's-
mean, we have department
Yeah.
heads and town administrators that read through these, town council reads through, so I don't think we had much more getting in. As a matter of fact, how many people read it?
Yeah. I would
It's
just
never
add-
been an easier time to go digital.
Yeah, I prefer digital, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, you go.
No.
As long as we get something hard copy, just
Oh, yeah.
because otherwise, I think what we're going to end up doing is, not for this kind of thing, I totally agree, I'm not going to read through all that, but I don't want to be in a position where I'm making a copy at home of everything.
Right.
And like
Yep.
running out of my own ink for my own copy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as we get something hard copy, because we don't get
Yeah.
any expenses reimbursed, either a pad or a summary. But if it's something that we have to sign, like it's a contract, I'm thinking, like when we had the host agreement, for example, with the recreational marijuana, I do want a copy of that if we're going to end up signing it, rather than just, a memo highlighting what we're
Yeah. Of
signing.
course, you could even get the hard copy just by emailing and saying, Michelle, would you make me a hard copy of this?
Yeah, just the stuff that we're going to sign, I think we need to read the whole thing.
Right. Well, I think that's a good compromise, like the river flow, for example. I don't know if you need all the copies of the
No,
low bidders and the
correct.
contracts
No.
and prevailing wage rates and the rest
No,
of it, so
right,
I think that's a good compromise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then I'm fine with it, too.
Rest of the board agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I read mostly on my computer anyways, I don't really do a
Yeah,
lot.
see, I don't, I like
Exactly.
to mark up, and Mary likes to mark
Yeah,
up.
and when I was stuck at home, because I got sick, well, I really didn't, but I had to stay the 10 days, I got rid of all my stuff, because I was saving everything, and so if we don't even get it, it's better, because I wondered why I had a budget from 2015.
Have to buy you all file cabinets.
That's right. So now that's good, if you whittle it down to just what we really need to see, that's fine with me, too.
Okay,
If
good.
there's anything you need, just ask me and I can print it
Yeah,
out.
it's,
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
That's great. I'd love to see that.
next we have,
I mean, like their reports, like the town
Oh, yeah.
reports, that it's good to
those are
see.
still,
Right.
Those are actually nicer digital, because when you get the fire department report and the font's very small, you blow it up, and it's a lot easier to read that way, so.
yeah.
Right, but when they're saying it, if we don't have it in front of us on an
Right.
iPad,
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard.
No, I think it's understandable, the ones we should get and not get. Okay, consideration and possible action on a hawker peddler license for Isaiah Cerna.
Isaiah and Alex are not here.
They're invited to come in.
They were here, they were told about the night, and they didn't show up.
Okay. So how does the board feel about that?
I think we set the precedent a couple meetings ago, right, that we're not gonna issue them to people who don't come, right?
Yeah, if they're going door to door, I think
Yeah.
they should come in.
Especially now, we're
Yeah.
putting a mask mandate on the requirement and everything.
So you wanna hold them off and invite them to come next time, and let them know
Yeah.
that they can get it if they come?
That way they'll understand the restrictions we put on. So,
We still have one here.
yeah. Okay, and then we also have a hawker peddler license for Ria Peterson. Sorry about the name.
I go by Peter, which is my middle name, which is way easier to pronounce. Hi, everyone. My name is Chaisurya Peter Sim. I am an outreach representative for the company Trinity Solar. My job as an outreach representative is to go door to door for a solar program. I just basically ask homeowners a couple questions to see if they qualify for our solar program, like how high is the electricity bill on average if it's above $70, how's the condition of the roof, if it's in good condition, no leaks, if they have a credit standing above 600, and then I would just find them a better time to get them more information about our programs, to where a solar professional would swing by, talk to them about the programs that we offer, and then see if they're interested from there. Then the homeowner would, tell us if they're interested or, think about it, and that's basically it.
Okay, questions, comments from the board?
What time would you plan on starting in the morning?
1 p.m. to 7 p.m. is the company hours.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the hawker and peddler license for Peter Sim.
Yep, thank you.
Second.
Well, can we make it subject to wearing a mask, entering the house? If you don't want to make it subject to that, I'm not,
No, do you go in the house or do you stay outside?
No, I stay
mean, you
outside.
Probably should wear a mask, so I'll make the motion, I'll add the mask to the motion.
all right, I will
You want to
support
put
it.
the hours on the motion too?
1 PM to 7 PM.
Yes, sir, that's the winter hours.
You got it, bud. Good luck.
I also have like the check too for 150.
Okay, we gotta finish the vote on it, though.
Gotcha.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Oh, Mr. Reed?
Just a suggestion, from experience about letting the police department know the registration of the vehicle they're going to be using.
You've
That in
already
there?
been to the police.
Yep, I filled out the paper. I also, every day before I go and start knocking on doors, I give dispatch a call. Let them know, hey, it's Chisuria Sim. I'm just going to be knocking in Sturbridge today. This is my vehicle description again, and this is the places that I'm going to be knocking in.
That's
Now,
awesome.
Peter, you said, see, I'm taking you up on that, Peter, I'm not trying that. Just a
Yeah, Chisuria.
Chisuria. I know you said those are your winter hours. Are
Yep.
you hoping to be beyond 7 o'clock in the spring and summer?
It depends if I'll be around.
Because I think 7 o'clock is, even in the spring and summer, is plenty late enough personally. I don't think that 8 o'clock.
People don't like to be bothered.
Right.
Yeah, it's understandable.
So,
Personally, I probably won't be here in the summer hours because it usually doesn't take me, that long to knock a town. Summer hours are 2 to 8:30, I believe.
so maybe we need,
We'll just leave it at 1 to 7, and if it needs to
Yeah.
change, then.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
further down the line.
yeah, but just make sure your company knows that we're only approving 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock. If
Yeah.
we want to try to go later in the summer, depends who the board is, but I personally think 7's late enough regardless.
I mean, there are people with small children that have been bothered by door-to-door people at
Yeah, it's understandable.
7:30, so we'll leave it at that.
Some of us go to bed early, too.
Gotcha.
Not me, I make up. Okay, did we have a second to the motion?
Yeah, it's-
Ian
yep.
did, okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
You can see Michelle with
Good
that.
luck.
Good luck.
Do you want the license signed? I do not like that. Oh, okay. Okay, next, Butch is back with request to temporary winter plowers.
Yes, I have two. One local resident, you probably recognize the name, David Kubinski.
I don't.
And the other one is Spencer resident, Tom Romasco, who's actually related to one of our mechanics. The only two applicants we got, they're both qualified to plow. They both had their drug tests. We're just waiting on the Corey report. So we had asked you to approve them pending the Corey report.
Okay, now what about the third person?
Yeah, we had a third.
Yeah, and he backed out.
Oh,
He found another job.
What's that bring the total to, Butch? 5?
Well, it's really only
David,
two town employees, Russ Chamberlain
Right.
and Tony, the tree warden, and then these two. So
Okay,
it's
so 4.
Yep. Well, Brian McCrory is the other one, so actually you're right, 5.
Okay.
Okay, questions from the board? Someone want to make a motion then?
I'll make the motion to approve the hiring of temporary plow drivers, David Kabinski and Tom Ramaska.
Even though it says ploy drivers.
That's all right. We knew what you
Employee drivers.
It's just a ploy to push snow off the road, that's all.
I'll
In
second.
your email.
Yeah. I'll second that with an emphasis supporting the grammatical error, because having dealt with Mary as a teacher and a fellow select person, I understand your pain, but.
Okay, any more?
I'm gonna abstain, but they'll be great.
Yeah. That's not quite an abstention. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, 4 and 1 abstention. Did you find it, Butch?
Yes.
He's busy.
Even if I didn't, I'd say yes.
Hey,
Busy. And the other thing is, oh, you want to wait till you say it?
okay, next, consideration and possible action on complete streets funding.
Yes, before I arrived here, Jean Boubon was working on a complete streets program, and she asked me to finish it up and get it submitted, which I did, and we received a grant for, I think it's about $380,000 to do sidewalks on Cedar Street. Complete Streets, in case you're not familiar with it, is a grant program through the state where they try to get the cities and towns to include bike lanes and sidewalks wherever they have streets. And they tend to like sidewalks in areas where there's senior centers, schools, or playgrounds. And our street requests were all mostly on Cedar Street, which takes us to the school and then to the rec area. And the school is also going for another grant, which would put a sidewalk into the school themselves, and they're hoping to get some more people that actually walk to school like the old days. So I'm just looking to, I guess, approval to accept the grant and move forward with it.
Okay, questions on it? Ian?
I'll ask because it affects my street the most. I know initially when this plan came forward, it was across the street from my house, so on the odd side of Cedar Street, where some of those streets or some of those homes are right on the street.
I think right now it's on the right side going up Cedar. So
Yep.
they're shooting.
My side, yeah, through
Yeah,
my
we
yard.
Connect from, it would connect from 20, go past the Cedar Street Grill,
Yep.
say, and there's a crosswalk actually included in this at the Cedar Street Grill. And then it would go up to the Burgess School Road, to stop there, pick up on the other side Burgess and go to the rec area. And I don't remember if it goes actually to the tennis courts, but I think it might. And then also, while we're talking about this, there is some talk, and we can talk about this with you guys later, I submitted it with granite curbing and asphalt sidewalks, but there is some talk about wanting concrete sidewalks, which is fine. It's another $51,000. They will not pay for it, but we can take it out of complete streets, not complete streets, but the Chapter 90. And then I know the next question is going to be, how much money do we have in Chapter 90? So even with the money that I took out for the paving program, which I got the paperwork for the reimbursement, which I'll leave with Bob, that Mary can sign so we can get the reimbursement money, we still have $4,024,363. And that's a very, very close estimate, because we didn't get our allotment for this year yet. But that includes, he told me, the guy I talked to told me to just use last year's allotment. It should be around the same thing. So we have a little over $4 million still in that account, which is great.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Oh, I just say I think it's great. You know, everybody who lives on my side of the street, we watch people walk up that street.
Right.
I just can't believe that
only
nobody's been hit by a
downside
car in front of my house at some point, so it'd be nice to see people walk down the sidewalk right there, so.
Yeah, and you could go down to the...
And I think everybody supports it right there too, so.
Hey, somebody want to make a motion then?
I'll make the motion to approve the Complete Streets funding program.
I'll second
Okay,
that.
to accept the grant,
To accept the grant and approve the funding, yes.
300,
Oh, I need the number, yep, 383,000, sorry.
Yeah,
no, that's okay.
and change, yeah.
It's nice to have the details on it. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
And I have a quick update on the Maple Street water line, which I'm due to give in new business, but if you want it now, it's like 30 seconds. It's up to you.
Fine. Hate to keep talking. The only thing it does, which is mess up my pile.
No, it's just that
But we're near the end of it anyways.
they finished the design, and they want to go to bid, so they just wanted to run it by you before we actually put it out to bid. And I just want to give you the final number on it. Final engineering number was $855,629. We have $1.1 million allocated to us from the last town meeting, so within that, so as long as the construction costs haven't gone crazy, which I'm not overly confident they haven't, but we'll find out once we go to bid.
Okay, any questions? No questions, no comments?
No.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion and to approve the dispensing of the funds?
Did it, was it that? Oh, that was different, never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was sidewalks.
Yep.
This is,
Right.
This is
Maple
Maple Street. And by the way, the infrastructure bill that just was passed recently supposedly is going to a lot of water and sewer construction and upgrades. So when Jeff was here, we were talking that could be a possible use for that money. And also the Southbridge water line, if we ever get to that point, it also would be, sewer line would be a good use for that money if that ever comes out.
okay.
Just a thought.
Okay, do we have a motion then for to approve the project costs of $855,629?
So moved.
Before you vote on that, that's an engineer's estimate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
here's the fund.
maybe
around,
more or less than that.
more or less.
It's never less.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion, all in favor? Of course, speaking of paving, I know it's early, but we'll be getting a paving plan.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Does it include the cemetery?
It does. I actually got approval from Conservation, so we're good with that.
I think I watched that meeting.
Yeah, we went through the whole process and we got approval, so it was too late to do it last year, but we'll get it this year.
Okay, thanks, Butch. Okay, next, consideration and possible action on selecting a town resident to the ARPA subcommittee. Okay, we earlier had received one, and then one came in later. So there are two people applying.
Can we put them both on?
We can put anybody on we want. I mean, we did it with,
Yeah.
department heads. So this brings the committee up to how many now?
2 department heads,
2,
Mary.
4, 5, 6.
Wouldn't it be 5? It's Mary, Robin, Ken,
And if we put 2 tonight,
it'd be
5.
5.
and Bob.
Oh, and Bob, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Voting.
I just assumed Bob.
Still
I did-
reasonable.
It's, oh yeah,
I mean-
but I mean, it's just, it's never a good idea to have committees with even numbers.
But it'll only be 5 voting
In this
members, right?
case, it'll be,
Bob's not going to vote.
I mean, I would abstain from voting there because I'll come back and vote here, if that be the case.
oh, no, no.
Okay, all right. I would like to
Hey, do we
just bring
have a
them both
motion
to-
then?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion then that we appoint Diane Trapasso and Parisa Goodwin to the ARPA subcommittee.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay.
So Bob, will you set up our first meeting?
Sure.
Did you know that's a top priority of town administrators to get committees going?
Well, I knew we would, but I just wanted to make sure.
He
was
did it
on
with the charter review already.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have a resignation letter from call firefighter Jason Edson. He does say, "Good afternoon, Chief. It saddens me to inform you I feel it is best that I step away from the Sturbridge fire. Due to personal reasons and family happenings, my schedule no longer allows me to fulfill the required duties. I would like to thank you and the town of Sturbridge for the amazing opportunities that have been provided for me over the last year. I wish you all the best and hopefully can return in the future. Best regards, Jason." Is there a motion to accept the resignation?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, next we have consideration and possible Action on the Sturbridge Trails Committee Recreation Trails Master Plan update.
This is a project, I guess, has been underway for some time. We have the contract from the Conway School to do the work, quite an extensive scope of services. The total price is $9,990. I know they had been very anxious to start, but there were some holdups on payment schedule, and also council needed to look at the contract and liability language, but they found council's comments acceptable. They've signed the contract, and I think they had a virtual meeting last week. We didn't want anyone in town yet before the contract was signed, but I know they're ready to start, so I would recommend approving this. I know Jean Ubon has spent a great deal of time on this.
Yes. Okay, any questions from the board? Someone want to make a motion then to approve the contract?
Yes, so moved. Well, I can do more
Little
specifically.
details.
Yes.
For the Conway School.
Yeah, so I move to accept the contract as presented in the January 3rd, 2022 version for $9,990 for the Conway School to complete the recreational trails master's plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have old business, COVID update. Bob?
Well, a couple things. One is, we had a meeting, myself, Council on Aging Director, the Health Director, and Health Agent, and Barbara, Finance Director, to try and get some specificity around tests. I know the board at the last meeting mentioned purchase of tests. And we think we'd boil it down to two options. One is a group purchasing contract through Central Mass Regional Planning, and this has been very fluid. Even today, we saw a change in prices, very favorable change in prices. I had contacted CMRPC last week to see if we could get in on this group contract, and made it clear that the board wasn't going to be meeting until tonight, and we couldn't make any commitments, but we have what I consider a placeholder on their contract if we're interested in going in that direction. The other is, through the Council on Aging Director, the possibility of getting tests through a contractor with WB Mason, but I think that the price now that we've seen from CMRPC of $5 per test is about half of the other option, and so that would seem to be the most favorable option right now. So I believe it comes down to if the board wants to pursue this and continue it, and just how many tests you want to purchase. I think that the delivery date, I'll double check, but I think the delivery date now with the CMRPC test is around February 18th.
Okay, board's thoughts, comments? Mary?
I continue to support us using some of our ARPA funds to purchase these, particularly now that they're $5 a piece. I think what we have to keep in mind is it's not just about the economics, because I know there's been changes, as Chase rightly pointed out, that at the federal level, you're going to be able to get 4 per household. And also with insurance, you're going to be reimbursed, I believe, 4 tests.
8.
And kids can get tested through the schools. But a big part of this is availability. I mean, they're sold out immediately when you walk into Walgreens or CVS. Just today, my husband purchased 4, which was the maximum you could at Walgreens for his employees. And the manager said, we just opened the box and they will be gone in 30 minutes. Because one person will put a phone call in and then the line starts. So I would like to do this for our residents. We have, what, $600,000. If we purchase even, you know, 1,500 or 2,000 at $5, we're going to spend about 1.5% only of our funds. And I think it's a very, very good use of funding. Even when the surge goes down, it doesn't look like this virus is going away. And, you know, February vacation, we'll probably have another surge, but people have a need to test right now. There's a big need among residents to get rapid tests. And I think it's a small thing that we can do for our residents, regardless of, you know, them showing that they're financially in need. Cities and towns are just giving them away. And I think that we should purchase at least 1,500, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000, to have on hand for our residents at their disposal.
Okay, other comments?
I think you're in the ballpark with that number of, between 1,000 and 2,000 tests. I don't think we need to go crazy, given the developments of the 4 tests going out per family. So I don't have an issue with between 1,000 and 2,000 tests using our ARPA funds on that.
Okay, Ian?
With ARPA money, I'm in support of it. I think there's going to be problems of how they get given away and who we give them to, but I think our Board of Health and other people will be able to handle that.
Jamie?
If the notion is that if all these different entities all get together and make testing really easy to get, and as a consequence, everybody's going to have access to testing, and it's kind of a collective approach, and we're using ARPA funds, I see no downside to it.
Okay. Bob?
Well, 2 things. I just want to correct the date. Actually, CMRPC sent out an email to all the towns interested in this, saying that there was a choice between the $5 test kits, which would be delivered by February 15th, or the $9.50 tests, which would be delivered by February 8th, and the overwhelming response was to go with the cheaper test kits. And I would just say, I didn't mention earlier, but when we had the meeting last week, the number of tests discussed was 2,000. And that's the number that I sent to CMRPC as a placeholder, so that would remain consistent.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the use of ARPA funds to purchase 2,000 antigen rapid tests through Central Mass Regional Planning at the cost of $5 per test, with an approximate delivery date of February 15th.
I thought you were going to go with 1,500.
I think Bob said we had a hold on 2,000, right?
Well, just the placeholder, but wouldn't they be happier if we went lower?
It's up to you. I mean,
Yeah,
I think both numbers were mentioned before, 15 or 2,000. 2,000 was sent to them, but, I mean, I also want to point out, I think a lot of towns would be in the same
Vote.
bind, for lack of a better term. I mean, we found out about the CMRPC group purchasing agreement, the MOU, last Thursday, and I think, especially because of the holiday, Monday, I don't know if any town has had a selectmen's meeting to approve the money since we found out about this agreement. I mean, I made it clear to CMRPC that the board wasn't going to be meeting until tonight, and this was a placeholder, so, and I've heard nothing from them that we're still not on the list, just like everybody else, but again, the number that I sent to them was 2,000.
Yeah, no, that's fine if you want to leave it at that.
I guess, I mean, I will leave it if there's unanimous support for the 2. And again, I think, like I said, it's 1.5% of our funding. We're not
Do we-
spending it
And it's
all.
not taxpayer.
Do we have an exact number yet on the
Right, exactly.
ARPA
Yep.
funds?
Oh, I'm not certain. I can get that for you.
Yeah.
Well, I will second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Next listed under old business is Compass Program.
Well, we still have more, I think Compass was on there because that was the state option for the purchase of tests. That was the vendor, or the state purchasing system that was forwarded to us from the state. And I believe that, and this is why we used CMRPC, I think they did all the work with the Compass system to get the best deal.
And the governor came out today too with free kits to every child and every teacher in the state too, so.
And I've received a correction, it's not WB Mason that we were going to, I think we were talking about WB Mason last week, but it's actually United Global that was the other vendor besides the vendor through the CMRPC contract, which is iHealth.
Okay, and next under that is the mask mandate. We said we would revisit it today. Comments?
Well, I had mentioned it last meeting because of some emails that were being circulated among the managers and administrators group. I haven't, as you know, you voted it through today, the 18th. I haven't seen anything from any towns or any mention in any of the communications that they're changing their policy on mandating masks.
Any comments from the board? Mary?
Well, I'm prepared to
Make a motion.
to make the motion to extend the same motion that we had. And I know that last time you wanted it only until the next meeting. I don't know if that came at this end. So in order to get unanimous support, I'm going to make the motion to extend the mask mandate at least until our next meeting.
February 7th.
February 7th, and to reconsider it at that time.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay. Ian, do you have any old business?
I do not.
Ace?
I have no old, thank you.
Mary?
Well, I never know if this is old or new, so I'm going to try to make it old, and then you can tell me if it's new. I did want to try to come up with a date where we can have our retreat. And every year, Bob, we have like the retreat where it's officially a meeting, but nobody really ever attends, and we meet to talk about goals for the year for our town administrator, and just to have a discussion. And I just think it's important, especially now when we're forming a search committee, to choose a new town administrator, if we're all kind of on the same page about what kind of goals we want for the new administrator, or for Bob, while we have him.
To start? Well, the way things move, he'll probably be here till April, so.
So I don't know what everybody's feeling is about a retreat, but
It's typically a Sunday, right? A Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Yeah.
usually it's Saturday. Yeah. But I don't care. I mean, I'm willing to do it at night too. I just want to have one.
Miss out on breakfast?
No, I like the breakfast in.
Do you want to do Saturday, February 5th, and that would be before our next meeting?
I can't do it the 5th.
Okay. How about
Sorry.
how about the 12th, right in between, right in between? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, works for me. I can do the 12th.
What about a time of day?
I'd rather in the morning if possible.
Me too.
Same.
Yeah, we usually do it at 9.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good.
Okay, February 12th. 9 o'clock, and that will be here because our favorite spot is not available in the mornings.
Wow.
They don't serve anything until noontime. So we'll have stuff here. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
As long as somebody brings me a Valentine.
That's pretty good. Pretty easy.
Jamie, do you have any
remember
old
you asked
business?
No, I'm going to end on the Valentine, Joe.
Okay, next we have consideration and possible action on selection of a town resident for the town administrator search committee. Now, we had discussed it, and it's not mandatory that those who applied come in for various and sundry reasons. Some people opted not to. But we had applications from John Weaver, Lisa Bowden, Eric Gaspar, Steve Chidester, Reed Hillman, James Waddick, and Elisa. Is Elisa here? Can you say your name again, and I'll still get it wrong?
Krokmalniski.
Croc on the ski.
Still can't say it.
You know what, it's Elisa, like Shay.
Yeah. You have an Irish maiden name, though, don't you?
I'm Irish. You can't even do like old Krokmalniski or
I like that.
I think it's a great name.
Like a Kabinski? Okay, so,
Pierogies.
I'll just go in the order that we have them listed. I don't know how that order came about, but, is John Weaver here? Hey, John, would you come down, please?
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Weaver.
Could you just tell us and the audience at home a little bit about why you want to be on the search committee?
Sure. First, thank you guys for all you do for the town. My name's John Weaver, resident at 16 Hunter Lane, and interest in being on the select committee is, on the search committee, is that our kids live here. We're invested in this community. They attend school here. They're involved in activities here. My wife and I have become involved in town. We've grown passionate about Sturbridge, and we'd like to, I have some experience in municipal economic development and other pieces that I think could benefit the process, and we want to make sure the town has the best possible candidate for, future leadership.
Okay, questions from the board? What do you think you have unique to bring to a search committee?
So I've got a pretty lengthy experience in all matters economic development throughout central Massachusetts. Initially starting working at a group called the Worcester Business Development Corporation that has done economic development projects with municipalities throughout the state. I then worked at Mass Development, who I imagine you guys are familiar with, doing similar economic development projects statewide, including a lot of work working with municipalities on helping them guide their economic development projects and planning. Heard mentioned earlier CMRPC. I'm a member of the South Worcester Economic Development Organization, that is run by CMRPC, which really guides economic development strategy. Now work for a group called Massachusetts Biomedical Initiatives, where we help guide the growth and strategy around biotech for central Massachusetts and the growth of that industry throughout. In that role, involved with a weekly meeting with the city manager of Worcester and other economic development groups in the city, really trying to figure out how we guide our economic development strategy to attract those types of companies and have that industry flourish locally. So got a really extensive experience in that realm. I also previously lived in Auburn, was on the planning board there, had a lot of other involvement with municipalities, have a pretty good understanding of how the municipal process works. And I think that experience could be helpful as this committee goes to select a new leader.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just wanted to hear your overall thoughts on Sturbridge.
So Katie and I love Sturbridge. I think our kids are here. We love the schools here. We'd love to see more comprehensive planning around economic development, because I have that experience and I've seen what can be done there, and I'd love to have someone who could help kind of really guide a strategy that brings everybody in and preserves what needs to be preserved and develops what, the areas that we'd like to see that. But overall, this is home, we're happy, and, we just want to be, active participants in seeing the town succeed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do have an economic development coordinator. Are you aware of that?
So I was aware that I think I met previously with Kevin. I think Kevin since moved on, and there's a new person in that role. I've not met the new person yet, but in a COVID world, that's not all that surprising these days, because we're not all getting together the way we used to, for sure, so.
Okay, thank you.
I know, I just wanted to say, I thought your resume was outstanding,
thank you.
regardless of what goes down tonight. And
Sure.
I hope that, you get involved, because it was a really great resume.
Thank you.
We do have 2 openings on our Sturbridge Tourist Association coming up.
Okay.
So, I feel like tourism and economic development kind of dovetail, so.
Sure.
Just better put a plug in for that. I know we're here for another reason.
It's
right?
quite all right, but, so I think we're here, service is a big part of my life. You can see, I think this is the whole third page of my resume is just about volunteer, associations that I've been involved with. So it's a big part of my life, and we'd be happy to help in other ways as we can. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lisa?
Hello.
Good evening. Want to give us a little bit of information about you? It's not just for us, it's for the people at home, too.
Sure. My name's Lisa Bowden. I've lived in Sturbridge for about 22 years now, and for 17 of those years, I've worked in another municipality, and worked really hard in that municipality. I'm a school administrator, director of nutrition, and really got involved with that community and loved it. And about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, decided, I need to spend some of that energy in my own town, and worked with a great group of people to help start the farmers market. And I love this town, and I really want to put the energy that I've put into the town I've worked in for so long here, into this town.
Okay, questions, comments?
I'll keep it consistent. Could you just give me your overall thoughts of Sturbridge?
Sure. I mean, I moved here for a reason. I really liked the town. There were a lot of things I liked here, and a lot of things that I didn't like weren't here. And I do believe in economic development. And I've seen, again, through the town I've worked in, some wonderful things happen when citizens get together to be stewards of their town and really work for what they want to see in their town. And again, part of the reason I really want to see a farmer's market here. But I know there's a lot of other growth that can happen here too, but not turn it into one of those places I didn't want to move to. That's all strip malls and big box stores. But we have a great community, but I think we need a lot more things that connect the whole community. There's a lot of families here, but there are a lot of single people here, and there are a lot of elderly people here as well. And it's a great community for everyone together.
All right, thank you.
Okay, what do you consider a unique quality you can bring to a search committee for a town administrator?
Well, as I said, in working for another municipality, I've worked with 3 different town administrators there, but certainly a lot of administrators in general. And I've seen what can happen in a town when you get the right person in a leadership role. I've also seen when someone comes in that really doesn't either have the same vision or really just understand people. Because someone can be very good and have a great resume, but not work well with people. And that's what a town is. I mean, we have a select board. We're all about our committees and everyone working together. And I think that's really important. You need to find a leader that can work with people and hear everyone and somehow bring people together. I think that's really important.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to.
Oh, Mary?
No, I just want to give Lisa also a plug in that I worked with her on the Special Events Committee, and she was being humble. She actually was the brainchild behind the farmers market. She brought it up at a special events meeting, and we sent out a survey, and it had overwhelming support in the community, but it was really Lisa's, and I don't know how this, factors into the search committee. I'm just giving her that she really took the ball and ran with it. Very, very hard worker for the farmers market. So again, regardless how this comes out, I just think you're outstanding what you're giving the town right now.
Well, thank you, Mary. I do love this community, and I want to give back to it.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, Eric? Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Little synopsis of
Little
you.
synopsis. Well, there's nothing little about me, but Eric Gaspar, 4 Deer Run Circle. I first of all just want to thank all the members of the select board and also all the members that have put their name forward. I think it's important for us to all become more engaged with our community. I think there's entirely too much focus spent on what goes on in Washington and not enough focus on what goes on within our neighborhoods and with our children. And that's the main reason I'm here. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when my wife and I moved to Sturbridge, this was supposed to be a transaction for us. We were going to move here, we were going to end up in Seacoast, New Hampshire. That was the plan. We fell in love with the town and become very passionate about what Sturbridge is and what it represents and the importance of preserving certain parts of our town and our heritage, but also taking advantage of the unique position that we have geographically on the map with all the highways that we have coming together here to make sure that we are being stewards of economic development in a smart way that fits within the mosaic of this town. So, I've been involved with the town in one way, shape, or form now, officially, I guess, for just under 4 years. I was on the last town administrator search committee with Mary. By the way, my son had you as a student this morning. He said you were very nice.
Well, delightful student, that whole class was.
Yes, thank you. And I've been on the Sturbridge Conservation Commission for just short of 3 years now, where I get to work with Jamie's dad. I think all of these things lend themselves to giving me the background and the knowledge of the town to help make an informed decision and ask the right questions of the candidates that will be brought in front of us during this process. So that's why I'm here. That's why I put myself forward, because I think it's important for people of all generations in this town to get involved. But at the end of the day, I'm 48 years old. I'm right in the middle of this, and I think I can relate both to the younger generations and the older generations and be able to come up with a consensus that ultimately, at the end of the day, will benefit Sturbridge.
Okay, anything else from the board? Okay, thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay, Steve Chichester. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Stephen Chichester, 154 Podunk Road. My wife and I moved here 15 years ago. We've raised 3 kids through the school system. We also love this town, and I'm interested in being on the search committee because I want to take a more active role in, what happens in this town and what, how it's functioning and how it's controlled.
Chase?
What are your overall thoughts on Sturbridge?
So, as the previous applicants said, I love this town. I think, my perspective is that I'm not opposed to economic development, but I am a vice chair of the Conservation Committee. So I think my unique contribution to this is to, want to promote that interest in open space and the interest in the conservation aspects of town development. And I think it's very important that we do that. We have a very special community. We have, this incredible trail system and open space that a lot of communities don't have. And I'd like to see that perpetuated in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, you kind of answered my question.
Yep.
When you brought up the conservation interest and everything. Anything else from the board?
No, hearing and doing all these compliments, I just feel like I need to say this too, because I think the conservation, kind of like Board of Health, you're a commission that isn't always telling people what they want to hear. There's kind of a lot of tension at times, but from the meetings that I have watched, I just think that you're really knowledgeable and you always are a gentleman, and I think that's important to have good communication with the public, because again, it's one of those commissions that, a resident wants to do something, but you're the one that has to say, okay, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. And that's not always a pleasant thing to have to convey. So I just think you do a good job with that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, Reed Hillman was unable to attend, but I'm sure, maybe with the exception of Ian, the rest of us are well acquainted with Reed. Reed has always worked hard for the town. Reed presently serves on the Personnel Committee. In the past, he was on the Police Chief's Search Committee. He's been on Finance Committee years ago. He was colonel of the Massachusetts State Police. He's smart. I'm not getting paid for this, but it's just nice if somebody can't show up that, he's a hard worker. And one thing about Reed, committees can tend to have meetings that go on and on. Reed can make a meeting move and get the job done. He's very efficient at that. So maybe I'll collect some money from him tomorrow. Okay. And next, Alyssa.
Hi, I know most of you, but I'm Elisa Kruk-Melniski, 23 South Shore Drive. I'm on the library board, first of all. Yeah, woo. But there's been so many things in town I've thought of doing. I got a lot, got kids and all the rest. And this really, I felt like this was important because I really think my skill set, I've worked as a journalist. Actually, I was figuring out it's over 25 years. I'm in New York, Connecticut, and then here. We lived here 21 years. And I have covered and watched and seen and covered, really, so many towns, so many selectmen. In fact, I know were you in Leicester or Spencer?
Lester.
Okay, I knew you from there. So, but I feel like obviously the other thing, as you probably know, I was with the Sturbridge Times, writing for the Sturbridge Times until we folded, and got such an insider's look in town, along with obviously living here 22 years, raising my boys. I mean, I remember one time I drove around, I went 200 miles, and I never left Sturbridge. Just driving around town. So I know the town. But I think what really applies here when we're looking for a town administrator is how important that is. I mean, I love this town, and one of the things with working for the Sturbridge Times was, back in my daily days, I had to cover everything. I do have a little bit of a rose-colored glasses, because I got to write all nice things. And gosh, I could have written, for every story I wrote, there were 10 more. There's so much good in this town. And I know from my journalism experience how much of that comes through here. You guys, and obviously your administrator. And it's such a critical decision. And I have worked with many administrators, many superintendents, all of that. Planners, you don't get better than Jean Boubon. And I know what works and I know what doesn't. I know what this town is about. I know what I think this town should continue to be. And I know that so much of it comes through this board, which is why I'm here. So, as I said, my knowledge of the town and my knowledge of administrators and administrative bodies is a skill set that might be helpful.
Okay, questions, comments?
You kind of touched on my question when you're speaking about Sturbridge, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
You too. I mean, I know I've done stories on all of you.
I know you've even answered my question.
Yeah, I think they're predicting you to. You're gonna have to change it up on it.
No, I think it's fair to ask the same thing. There's always an advantage. Life's not fair, Jamie.
I'm aware.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just want to say too, I know you've interviewed all of us, but I do feel like Alyssa's profession as a journalist really gets to the heart of this particular committee because, you know, I mean, it involves economic development, but really it's an interviewing committee. It's a committee that's going to engage in the interviewing process and, you know, you didn't talk about this, but I will, but as a journalist, whether it was you or somebody else, I just think that profession is very skilled at asking questions and asking questions in a, maybe out of the box that we might not think of as standard. You know, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Identify one time in your life where you really blah, blah. I just think a journalist might be able to think of more creative questions to ask.
And I think I've done that, again, with all of you, in different circumstances.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's less personal, but like, I like your line of work for this particular committee. That's probably it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
James?
Thank you.
Good evening.
I don't think you could go wrong tonight with any of the candidates that have been up here so far, so these are tough acts to follow, but I'll just mention my background. I've lived in the town, I'm entering my 30th year living in Sturbridge. I've been on the Finance Committee for, this will be my 7th year that just began. I was on the previous search committee with Eric. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked out long-term, but such is life. As part of my job for my 35-year career, for 25 of it, I was involved in HR, so it's not an exaggeration to say that I've interviewed literally hundreds of people in that period of time. I've been on the board of Harrington Hospital for 16 years, and I was on the committee that interviewed and hired the current CEO, who has been there for the past 16 years. I'll open myself up to any questions, but I think that I really enjoyed the last time around. Mary, you were on that committee. It was a lot of fun. I have time. I enjoy this type of thing, and I think I can make a positive contribution. So I'd like to be considered for another bite at the apple with this committee.
Hey, Chase.
I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I know you have a positive outlook on Sturbridge. That's
I wouldn't be here for 30 years if I didn't.
That's right. Thank you.
You touched on mine, too, so I don't have to ask it.
I'll repeat, based on what I've heard so far tonight, it's going to be a difficult choice, but you can't go wrong.
And Jim, you're a pleasure to work with, and you're like the voice of reason on the FinCom. So regardless of this, we got you on the Finance Committee. I just love you on the Finance Committee because you're, like I said, you're just a voice of reason and reasonable.
What are you saying about the others?
No, there's other voices of reason.
It's a good group.
No, it is, but I just feel like you're a real leader on that particular committee.
We had a bunch of turnover. We have 3 new members now, so it's...
So I'm already starting on, Sturbridge Shores. You have 3 openings on the Finance Committee?
We just, Mike just filled 3 openings within the past 6 months or so. And while I'm at it, can I just say one more thing? Thank you guys again for all the support we get for the community garden over here, which I think we're going to be entering our 4th or 5th year. We've had a very, we grow all that stuff for the food pantry in Southbridge, in the St. John Paul, and it wouldn't be possible without the town allowing us to use the water supply for irrigation for that stuff. So, thank you.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Also, could you have Mike Keplet send us notification of who he's reappointed or newly appointed?
Oh, sure, I'll ask.
Because we don't always get that.
Okay.
Okay.
So there are not...
They were at the last meeting.
So there aren't any openings right now?
No, he
you
filled the last position, and she came to the last meeting.
Nice.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Oh,
but
awesome.
we never got the notification. It's happened before, but independence is a good thing, I suppose. Okay, thank you, James.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, board.
I think we have, so Lee had put her name in.
She was late.
But I don't think she was. I think she sent it the night of. I don't know if we want to handle it, but she forwarded me the email that she sent.
But we have the email when it came in and everything, and according to the computer in the email, it was late.
Well, so if somebody sends in their message to the town, and the town servers don't pick it up for whatever reason, it seems like they should be given an opportunity still to talk. I mean, I don't want to speak for Lee, she's.
When did, I'm sorry, I didn't even know we were, I'm sorry, did I not check my email?
No. This all happened. I found out about this today.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
no,
didn't
but
get an email.
No,
Okay.
but Michelle has the records and everything, and it was late, and I don't like to be argumentative, but I have to go along with what we have, and the date set, okay? Some of these people mailed in well into December their interest, so we are not accepting the
Well, I don't
letter
think you
of
get to
interest.
make that decision unilaterally, but I will,
Um,
have it to be
Well,
stated.
the chairman can make a decision.
Okay, Mary.
Okay, so now, how we did it before was each, well, do you remember how we did it?
I think people just started firing off motions.
Yeah, it was just,
But it was kind of like the Wild West, I don't know.
Yeah, I have an idea for one that might be helpful. So I was thinking of it, because there's a lot of, I'm looking at it as perspectives. Because you get into individuals, it's just
Yeah.
everybody's great.
Bob has something to show you.
I was
It's
just.
fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll show you later.
But so what I was thinking was, if you're just going on balancing, because Chase is a business owner. No, true. I'm really trying to balance perspectives, and Barbara's working for the town. And then I was thinking, John Weaver sort of has an interesting perspective because he's in a business development role, but not in a traditional business development role. I was thinking Steve has a sort of conservation open space perspective. And I think Mary's point about Lisa being like a journalist, having seen different communities, would be valuable. So that was sort of my theory of this. But I think something like that is an appropriate course, because you just want to have different perspectives is how I think I would be looking at
Yeah,
it.
of course, we even have different perspectives as far as the candidates.
Okay.
Do you remember the citizens that were on it last time?
I know who the three were. It was Jim, Bill Haggerty, and Eric Gaspar. I mean, I agree with Jamie in the sense that I would prefer it if we didn't just say, I nominate this one and then vote on that person, because it's nice to know who's, you might or might not vote for that person depending on who else is on it, if everybody,
Yeah, it's like a slate.
So.
Well, it's always, there's never been.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can just nominate people so we know who's nominated and then vote each
Yeah,
person, which is a little different than just saying, I nominate Chief Grasso. And then us vote on him when we don't know the other people that are going to be part of the committee. I think we should take all the nominations, like we did for, like Chase was selected. Well, you backed out from being, but we ended up choosing him. I think we take the nominations and then.
Yeah, it's
take
always,
one by one.
it's always strange. I mean, sometimes we don't get enough people.
I'd like them all to be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all great.
Bob, do you know a easy way?
No, I don't. I'm impressed with all the candidates also. You have a difficult decision.
And I just want to say to all the candidates, if I could vote for every single one of you, I really would. You guys were all awesome, so this is really tough on us. But good job, kudos to you.
How to win friends.
Yeah.
I keep losing them.
Well,
Maybe
Okay.
just take nominations.
Yeah, okay. Ian?
Based on paper, before I came in here tonight and heard everybody's words, I was going to nominate Eric based on prior experience and just a similar vision of, I think, Sturbridge and where we want to go, so.
Chase?
I am going to nominate John Weaver.
Mary?
Okay, they're both good choices. So, what's that?
One.
Oh, okay, well, I'll just put it out there, I know this is the buzzword of the 21st century, but I do think it's nice to have some diversity on the board, so you both, nominating 2 of the men. I think it's important to have 1 woman. I'd be thrilled with Lisa or Alyssa. But, for me, it's just about, this is like a hiring committee to me, and with all due respect, with all the background in economic development and all of this, obviously, we don't just want a town administrator that's going to build. We know our town meeting doesn't want that. They want balanced growth. But I just feel like, she didn't stress it, but I just feel like Alyssa's background as a journalist, we don't often have that opportunity, and I'm just hoping that she will ask some questions that are not typical questions. They're a little bit out of the box to try to help get the town administrator, get the finalists who are a good fit for the community. But just, she's trained to interview. And really, when you get right down to it, that's what this committee is. It's an interviewing committee. They're going to ask a series of questions and be interviewed. So I just feel like she hasn't asked, well, I guess she's on the library. She's not on anything else. And I think there's a reason, because her journalistic background is very, very well suited for this particular committee. So I like everybody. But I just feel like it's her background. It's not personal. It's not her personality. I know they all love the town of Sturbridge. That's obvious. But she's been a journalist for 30 years, and this is what she's trained in.
Okay. No, and I would like to thank everybody that did apply, and as James said, they're all good candidates. And it is tough, and I do tend to look for people who have an overall viewpoint. That's why I want to nominate Reed. Reed has been around this town. Reed knows this town. He knows the people. He has worked with several administrators, knows how to work with them, and knows what is expected to get a good town administrator for Sturbridge. So that's why I put Reed's name out there. Jamie?
I will nominate Steve Jester for the reasons stated earlier.
Okay. Okay, so we have 5 nominations, and we can only pick 3.
You want me to just start making a motion down the line?
Maybe we'll start with you, because we started down here.
I move to appoint Steve Jester to the Town Administrator Search Committee.
Now, how do we do that, like a second motion?
You'd have to have a second to the motion.
I will second it because, well, I'll wait for discussion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint.
We're gonna.
Oh, we have to vote on the motion?
Yeah.
We have a motion, right?
No. I'm just gonna say why I'm gonna support him. That's why I wanted to see everybody on the table. We've got people with a business background. I don't know if my journalists will get in or not, but if these other people didn't, I'm very happy with that too. But I just think he represents the other half of Sturbridge, right? Where we're economic growth, but we're also quality of life and kind of sustainable growth. And I kind of feel like he's representing that aspect of Sturbridge that might not be represented otherwise, so.
Yeah, but,
I'll second it.
okay, discussion. I have a little problem with some of the reasoning. People here and people up here, we all have our own interests in stuff. We're not going by that. We may have a background in that. We're going to pick a town administrator that is going to do the day-to-day operations of the town. Economic development versus conservation, if you want to put it that way, really is not part of the discussion. Everybody else, Alyssa brought up good points about the person working in that office. I'm a little leery of having people who are already on major boards in town. Because we already have a selectman and a department head. So I think it's nice to spread it around, so that's my feeling on that one. So any other discussion on that? Those in favor of that motion to appoint Steve? Those opposed? Okay. Okay, now this is starting there and here. Well, I don't know, I don't like any of this.
This is terrible.
It's terrible.
It's torture.
Somebody's going to come up with a better way for the next time we have to go for a town administrator. Because, I mean, people's feelings get hurt. People say things that get said that probably shouldn't get said, but, okay, so if you went, it's my turn. Okay, I want to nominate Reed for all the reasons I gave before. It's my nomination. Motion to nominate Reed. Okay, dies for lack of second. Mary?
Yeah, I mean, I feel, everything you said is obviously true, but it is a little bit harder to second somebody. I mean, I know he's busy, but, you know, when other people do come, it's a little bit of a feather in their cap, when they.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I know it's tough. I get it, Mary.
No, this-
I'll make the motion for Elisa.
I will second that motion.
Wait a minute. Chase. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Chase?
I will make a motion for John Weaver.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion? Mary?
I thought he had a, you know, a really fabulous resume, so, I'm
Okay.
happy with them.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. Okay, Ian?
Yep, I will nominate Eric Gaspar.
And I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, wait a minute.
Well, I have kind of an issue with your logic there, Mary, because you earlier made the point about major boards. And the same point goes. So it's not really about Eric, but it's about consistency.
You talking to this Mary?
That Mary.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm going based on the candidates we're given, okay? And what they do, and what I've read about them, and how I know them, okay?
Okay.
I just said, though, about that it's not a economic development person as opposed to a conservation, environmental person, okay?
Let me just, I just want to say,
Mary?
I also voted against. But for me, I mean, I think.
Well, I mean, I didn't quite get the count on that.
It was a.
I think it was 3-2.
3-2.
But I just want to go on record as, it's not so much a vote against Eric, because I also thought Jim did great on the search committee. But I was on it last time, and I stepped down. I didn't even put my name in. I thought it was somebody else's turn to do it. I mean, I think Mary's done it for Leon, and then I did it for Jeff Bridges, and now Chase is doing it. And so I just thought it was the only reason I didn't even like nominate Jim, who I think is outstanding, is because they had an opportunity to be on the last search committee, and that was my same reasoning for, I think, you know, Chief Dessert wanted to be the appointment, and we let Chief Ford, we already had somebody from Public Safety, we had Chief Ford on it, and I thought, let Barbara Berry have her turn, we already had a police chief. So that was my reason for the two that have already been on the committee to like open it up to a couple of new residents. I just wanted to say, it wasn't a vote against their back.
Yeah, Eric will do a great job.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so it's just more giving other people an opportunity. I mean, it was very hard for me. I think Lisa did great, but we only can nominate one person, so.
Too bad it can't be secret ballot. Okay, so thank you all, and Mr. Reed will set up a meeting to get the committee off the ground, and it is a town committee, so everybody will have to get sworn in by the town clerk. Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I did not like that.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know if you want.
It's not every day.
Guidelines
Well, it's not every day we reach out to the public and
the salary
get 7
or
of
hiring
best
firm.
people. I feel like. most of
Yeah, I
the
was
people
going to
are
bring
us.
that up, but as far as salary, we've never,
I know, I always feel like, ooh,
the board's never
It'd be nice if we
set
could
salary.
just, if we could just have a
Oh, really?
discussion about it and come forward with 3 people.
Who would that
Say, we've discussed it.
I think
These
that's
3 people, I think, are the 3
we
people.
have a
who-
business person, we have a written.
Yeah.
Good luck, Eric. You did a great job. I'm sure you'll do another one.
Rearrange, Eric, I'm sure.
And listen, your son is very well.
Well, thank you.
Is that your son that's
We
on your
always had the
socks too?
salaries of
Good to see you.
That whole class is really delightful. They have,
you know,
they have his,
I think you're looking for a little bit of a bump on this.
I know.
they have your
One
She has a
advertising.
frat house in that.
Lynn
class.
Truss. I was only there for a half day and I couldn't even walk through the door.
Yeah.
No, they were good.
Well, I was sitting there, and my wife was like, by the way, tell Mary, JJ says hi. I was like, huh?
They were very good at, no. Wait, Mr.
Justin.
Rod,
Justin.
wait, Mr., and I go,
What
you
is
know
it?
what, with this substitute, you have to have what I call a little flexibility. They're looking at me, probably thinking it's this. You know, I'm gonna do things a little differently. Then she walked through the door at 11:15, and I was like, Lynn, you deserve every dollar you need,
Yes, she does.
and more.
She's my aunt.
All right.
I know, that's what I said.
I think,
We'll get
I
to
think
work.
typically.
Thank you.
I went to school with her, she was the other one.
Cheered
We were
with her, too.
yes, yes.
Yeah, you cheered with
And
her.
I also did, well, Lynn is a little bit older.
It was always automatic.
And your mother's a little bit older.
But I think-
And your aunt is 1 year behind me.
That's right, yeah.
She's an extraordinary teacher.
She is.
She had her lesson plan.
Think the,
Like, they were really good in reading and math. They were- I've been hopping around. I'm loving this, by the way. I might not go back to it. Okay. Everyone should be there.
okay, we have 2 other things to do on the search committee. Now, the search committee last time did hire an outside firm, and I think it would behoove us if we directed the search committee to do so this time. These committees have much more outreach to people than the normal town search committee. There are companies that do it, so how's the board feel about that?
Makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion that we direct the search committee to hire an outside firm?
So almost like an advisory motion? Like we advise the search committee to?
Yeah, that's,
Like, yeah. Okay. I move that the Board of Selectmen advise the Town Administrator Search Committee to retain an outside vendor to assist it with finding appropriate candidates.
I'll second Jamie's motion.
any discussion? All in favor?
Are we going to have them select who they want? Because I know last time we narrowed it down to Paradigm and UMass. And we're leaving it up to them?
Yeah, they're the search
Firm?
committee.
Okay.
Then the other thing is the salary. Now,
I thought that they came forward, well, it doesn't matter, but I thought that they came forward with both of them, and then we as a board decided which of the two firms to hire.
I think that they did, but I think in essence of
Time.
and.
Oh, yeah, I don't
moving
care
on,
that you
know.
decide, I don't
Yeah.
care that the search committee decides, I just thought the last time they came forward with both choices, and this board actually did the voting to hire Paradigm over UMass.
As long as it's not Kabinski Construction.
Yeah, it's a good point.
See, I don't,
Yeah, I think you would be the hiring authority. Perhaps they could, I don't know how fast they're going to move, but perhaps they could have a recommendation for your next
That's
meeting.
what they did the last time, and
Yeah.
they're the ones who actually hired the firm.
Right.
okay.
If, and I'm just going to say, to me, that's not important on hiring the firm. I would leave it up to the search committee on which firm they want to use, so they don't have to come back to you.
No, but I just think
But,
that we have to.
Bob's,
As a matter of
Yeah, okay.
how things
That's that
move.
we have to sign the contract. Like, you can
Okay.
come back and say, we want Paradigm, but I think the board is the one
Right.
that has to sign the contract.
Right.
yeah, okay, so we'll do that. And the other point is with the salary. Now, before, we had the classification done. Salaries used to move at different paces. When we had the reclassification and compensation report done, for some reason, town administrator position wasn't included in that. And when the search committee goes out to hire, you get a better pool of people if they know what the salary range is. That happened when we hired Leon. The first advertisement had no salary range in it. Then it was re-advertised with a top salary range, and that's when we got more people. So as far as salary, what is the board's thoughts?
What is the chief?
I was gonna say, I would look for somebody who, you're in the market all the time, so where do you see it?
Barbara and I had some discussions about this, and we got some information from the Managers Association. And we thought that the number that Barbara and I were talking about was about 160,000. Now, you can put in the ad, I think it would be important to have that for the ad when it goes in. Certainly, that's going to be the first or second question any candidate is going to be interested in, but you could qualify that saying, oftentimes it's up to 160 depending on qualifications. But I think the gist of the discussion that Barbara and I was having is there's going to be a lot of competition out there. We were mentioning this earlier. It seems like a lot of towns are going out.
There's 10
Yeah.
communities looking.
And frankly, they're having a difficult time getting qualified people. I mean, I got involved in this in the 80s when the field exploded. Everybody's retiring now, and it's not that easy. I think you'd be looking at that kind of an increase if you want to be competitive.
What was the salary that Jeff was at again?
I thought it was 150. He didn't take it for the, do you have a town report,
I can get the budget book.
the budget book from
And
the,
I personally would be inclined to go.
I think
Higher.
retention, we want somebody who's gonna stay and.
I think it's money well spent to get the right fit, and I don't want to see really good, really qualified people that we would really want, and then look at the salary and have it not competitive enough and then not even apply. So I'm willing to up the ante for the right person.
it is tough out there, so many communities, and there are so many people, not the best qualified people applying.
I know that's not that many people
Yeah.
are getting masters. and
Yeah, the recommended was 153 for fiscal year '22. Jeff didn't take it. Well, he didn't take it last year either. So, but I know Bob's qualifier should always be in there depending upon experience.
Right, I mean, yeah, we can always
qualifications.
go a little bit lower, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
wouldn't you do a range?
That was my thought, is do a range and then negotiate that within who you hire, right? I mean,
Because there's some people.
Well, we could just put in there, salary up to 160, depending upon experience and qualifications.
I'd even go
I
higher.
would say 165,
I was gonna go even more, yeah.
170.
Yeah.
I would say 150 to 175 is a range, and then you weigh it on the experience.
Wow, you people love to spend money. I mean, I know you have to spend it to get it, but,
No, it's impossible to hire in this area right now. No, I'm not, like.
Oh, no, I
it's
know.
Absolutely.
And then the cost of us hiring a firm to hire somebody, all the time spent to hire, I mean, I think you wanna hire somebody right and keep them around for a while, right? I mean,
Yeah, the way, I don't know how you've handled it in the past, but the way, I've seen it done is that the search committee would come back with however many candidates
Three.
you would like,
Charter
three,
says 3.
and then that salary would be negotiated with the board. Although, I mean, if you're 175, great, but I think you have to be prepared to go up to that and not just use that to lure people, because if they don't, they're gonna obviously think they're qualified, and if they end up nowhere near that, then you may be starting out with a bad taste in their mouth, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So maybe we go to 170. I mean, you were recommending 160, if we go 10,000 more than that. I just,
You can talk to the FinCom.
I'm not gonna speak against higher salaries for town administrators.
No, it's not talk, it's about the ad though. So right now, what does the police chief make?
I think he makes way more than, yeah,
Yeah, so that makes no sense to me.
right.
The-
Or he at least made a compromise, that is a little bit more.
who's that?
I always have trouble finding them quickly.
When you look at what people are paying for other jobs, it's,
The fire chief makes 116,
That's the fire, he makes
and
less than.
police, 145.
Okay, so there's still distance.
Oh, they're less. I think it may have been Chief Ford that was like this with Leon. We might be getting.
Yeah,
those two.
but-
Yeah, so that makes more sense then, as long as there's space
It's
between
only
those.
5,000 less than the town administrator.
You have nice printing, if that's your printing.
Oh, no, it isn't.
I mean, I would go to 170. I'm not sure we should, I mean, I kind of agree with Bob, unless we were really ready to spend the 175. Let's see what we get. Do we know? Well, that's another thing.
We go to 170 if we don't get any
Well, no, I
bites,
mean,
then-
that's one of the things we ask Paradigm, and you can, once you secure the
Yeah.
firm that we're going to use as the search firm,
What's the range?
we can,
Yeah,
that's
that's
one of
smart,
the
that's
things that
smart.
we can rely on their expertise and say, what's going on out there in the community? And if he says you're not going to get anybody for 160, then we
Yeah, we gotta.
go to 170, and if he thinks 170 is reasonable, I mean, I feel like that's one of the things.
So
that
you
we're
don't want to
paying
set a
for.
salary range till after the committee meets and they decide
I think that's smart.
who they want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, 'cause I think, who heads up Paradigm, the gentleman, I can't think of his
Bernie.
name.
Bernie Lynch?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Bernie, I believe Bernie gave us guidance with that last time. And because I also thought that he assisted with the drafting of the posting. I could be wrong, but I thought they were involved in all aspects of that. And
Oh, yeah.
so the posting.
They do that.
You know, because we didn't post until they came up with their they had that article that they put in the municipal news,
In the
the MMA
Beacon.
news, the Beacon. So we posted with that article, and he gave us guidance. The best recollection I have as to what we should put for salary too. Because that's gonna go in the posting, and if we're gonna hire, a firm to assist us, then we may as well make them.
Use them,
it,
yes. Yep.
Okay, so then we'll wait.
I would.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'd like to move fast, but
You want to do it
we
right,
don't
too.
want to
Yeah, we don't want to just guess.
make the matter worse. Okay.
I just want to say, that was the worst. We got to find, I don't like leaving people out and having people in on those kind of committees.
Yeah.
It's just as bad as campaigning. It's the worst part of doing this.
It is, but,
Because normally, we don't have enough people, and every
No.
single person that came to us was really, really
I know,
qualified.
but,
I'm just saying.
Do we have the, in the future, do we have the ability to meet and discuss this privately and then bring 3 people in front. We cannot do that, yeah. I didn't know if in certain, similar
No,
to
the
other things
sausage
that we
has to
deal
be
with.
made in public.
Yeah. That's a weird statement.
Suggested us foregoing the meeting of having them come forward and just,
That was very helpful.
I know it's true, so.
There's no easy way.
No.
Let's put it that way.
No.
I mean, we've all been up for jobs. We don't always get the job.
But they get paid for a job.
Yeah. Be nice if we got
Valid.
that. Speaking of that, anything you want printed off, have the office printed. Don't use your paper.
Yeah, okay, Michelle.
Within reason.
Okay, new business. Right of first refusal for property located at lots B, C, and D on Podunk consisting of 4.54 acres. Now, the planning board voted not to exercise our right. The open space committee voted not to exercise our right. And the conservation commission voted for us not to exercise our right. They did have some other input into what they would like to do, which would be a totally separate issue.
Right.
Well, hold on. Where is Rebecca?
I lost it. I lost it too.
She has a memo, though.
Yes.
I have it here.
Oh, yeah, let me just, and she's actually, well, I have a question. Do we have to make a decision this evening? Are we down to the wire?
We're getting,
You have 120 days.
Oh, we do? Because I would personally, I put a phone call and texted to Annie. I know she's out this week with a family death, but she said she would meet with me next week. Because Rebecca indicated, she said before we forego the right of first refusal, discuss parcel A.
yes, but that's totally separate. That's not even on the table.
No.
And
but-
she does say,
Yes, but, no, what she says is before you don't exercise the right of first refusal on B, C, and D, make sure you don't want, and Recreation doesn't want parcel A for a possible field. So she says, don't make the decision on B, C, D. And I know she's not Recreation, but I personally would like to meet with Lynn before we don't exercise it.
Yeah.
And if we have the time, I'd like to make the decision at like our February meeting. I'm just requesting it because I want to run this idea by Recreation.
Can you let us know what
Right?
she
I mean,
says too? Yeah.
She does say, don't make any decisions on B, C, D until you know about A.
well, she says, without additional lands to make this part of a larger project, the SCC does not support the town exercising their right of first refusal solely for parcels B, C, and D.
Right.
Okay, the parcel that they're talking about isn't even on the table. That would be a totally separate thing.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I got it ready, but I just want to read a different part of what she
No, I know what she wants. They want parcel A, and they say it could be good.
But she says, the Sturbridge has recently met to discuss. SCC voted, they 3-1 abstained, 1 to request that the BOS investigate the new owner's plans for parcel A prior to taking action on the current request for parcel B, C, and D. So what she's saying is, before you don't exercise the right of first refusal on B, C, and D, discuss with them parcel A. Okay, that's what she's saying. I just think we have the time to at least put this off till the next meeting. I don't see why we have to do it right now.
Well, if I could, yeah, I think the key word there was investigate. I'm not clear what they mean by that, but
How much they would want for it, is Recreation interested, those are the kind of things.
exactly, it becomes very complicated, so let's just say for discussion that, we can talk to the landowners of A, but then is that only going to work if we investigate the other parcels as well? At this point, I don't know whether that fits as part of a larger plan, how much money is available, what it would be used for. I do think, though, if you're going to discuss it more, it's a legitimate discussion for executive session, discussing, land. but,
Separate?
Right, but I don't want to know, I just want to,
Gather all the
I
facts.
just want to.
Gather everything we can.
If there's
I
time.
do want to meet with Annie, and if Annie says recreation has zero interest in parcel A, then at the next meeting, we can not exercise our right of first refusal, but I do want to know that before, because I think that's what conservation's trying to say in that memo.
I know that's what they're saying, but,
But, I mean, Mary, we don't have to make a decision tonight, that's all. I mean.
no, but we need to move on things. Okay, so it's the majority of the board that would like to wait until,
all right.
okay, now, everything. Okay, which already addressed Maple Street waterline correspondence.
All right.
Didn't have any minutes of January 3rd. Any corrections? Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve as written?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion, all in favor? Okay, citizens forum.
Is there anybody on the line?
Anybody?
Oh.
Wonder if there's anyone on the line for a question for the selectmen?
Okay, so we do have a request for executive session. Chase, you have the,
Yes. Per MGL C30A, Section 21, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Ian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes, for some of the executive session, I won't stay for all of them.
I vote yes. Jamie?
Yes.
Okay, and we will not reconvene in open session.
Open recording.
No, all right.
This conference is no longer being recorded. They're all gone.
Okay.
What do you think there?